Good evening. This is the February 28th, 2023 meeting of the Sewer Commission. It's going to be a combination of a public hearing and a regular meeting. So I'd like to start the meeting. I'm John Reynolds, Chairman of the Sewer Commission. I'd like to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Dave, if you want to start us off with that.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
Flag,
the United States
of America,
to the republic
Republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, I'll have to read our regular Zoom information here. In accordance with the requirements of open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting of the Sewer Commission is being recorded and will be able to be found on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel after the meeting. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link to join the public meeting webinar found on the posted agenda, or from a phone, dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499 and enter the webinar number 897-811-9538. If you have not registered with Zoom, you will be asked for your name and an email address. No participant ID is required. Just press pound when asked. I'm going to do a roll call vote to see which members are present and staff members who are present. See, did Brett sign on while I was talking?
somebody did. Mr. Chair, somebody did.
No.
Phone
I-
open.
iPhone.
No.
Yep.
Okay. Dave McDonald,
Here,
Mike Nault,
Present.
Mike DeVegas. No, and Brett is not with us.
Nope, Brett is here.
Brett is with
Oh,
us.
Brett is with us?
Yes,
I don't
Hello,
see
Brett.
hey, Brad, yay!
it. Hey, Brett. Brett Ramson, are you present? A thumbs
Give a
up from
thumbs
Brett.
up.
Okay, 2 thumbs up. I'm sure he'll be working on his audio. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Bill Bernard,
Yep.
Barb LaFave,
Here,
Paula Bertram,
Here.
and Jane Rainley.
here.
Okay, and is Heather on yet?
She is not.
Okay,
She will be joining us later, I guess.
okay. All right, as I mentioned, the first portion of this is a public hearing, and I'm going to start by reading the notice that was posted. Notice of public hearing posted in the Lunenburg Ledger 2/17/23 sewer use regulation changes. Notice is hereby given that the Lunenburg Sewer Commission will hold a public hearing via Zoom on Tuesday, February 28th, 2023 at 6 p.m. to review proposed changes to the Lunenburg sewer use regulations. The public hearing will be conducted via virtual means only. The following information is provided for members of the public that would like to view and or participate in the public hearing remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link to join the public webinar found on the posted agenda, or from a telephone, dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499 and enter the webinar number 897-8112-9538. Interested parties are welcome to attend and comment. Persons wishing to be heard should appear via Zoom on the date and time designated above. Copy of the sewer use regulation changes are on file with the town clerk and available for public inspection during the clerk's regular business hours. And Barbara, was that posted? You're muted, Barb. Was it posted?
Right. Yes, it was posted on February 17th in the Ledger.
Okay.
And
Now,
Heather is joining us.
Okay.
Can you hear me, John?
Yes, I can. Great. Okay, Barbara, there's no one here from the general public, correct?
That is correct.
All right, then I'm going to bypass what would be just reading the ground rules for the hearing. It's pretty much the same thing we do at a regular meeting. Just, everyone raise their hand, speak in turn, and we'll get through it.
Mr. Chairman, was
Yes.
the public hearing posted at a particular time?
Yes, for 6 p.m.
For 6 p.m.
So we might want to just recess the public hearing, and
It's happening.
open it later in the meeting.
It is 6 p.m. It is past 6, so it started the meeting.
Right, so we need to open the public hearing and then we can recess it to return later.
Why do we need to recess it?
Well, are we gonna continue to do that, or, okay, I didn't know if you were gonna go forward with the public hearing now, or if you were gonna jump to another item on the agenda. My apologies.
Well, I guess I assume you're talking about Heather.
Correct.
I guess we could suspend that if the rest of the commissioners are in agreement, and let Heather have the floor and then come back to the hearing. I don't have a problem with that.
Mr.
Dave,
Chair,
Mike,
I would recommend that we put Heather now because she has a very important meeting at 7 o'clock. So
I agree.
okay, and Mike,
Well, yeah, I'm good with having Heather right now.
okay. All right, well then let's suspend the hearing temporarily.
So I
and-
think we need to make a motion. So, Mr. Chair, I would make a
Right.
motion to recess the public hearing to return shortly.
Okay, the only procedurally, Paul, I don't know if you can do that or if it has to be a commissioner.
I
Oh,
think-
you're right. You're right. My apologies.
How many hats do you wear, Paul? Mr.
Okay.
Chair, I echo what Ms. Bertrand just said. I suggest that we suspend the open hearing until after the business we have with the town manager.
And do I have a second?
I'll second
We'll
that.
second that. Both
Okay,
Brett and I will second that.
okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, let's take a roll call vote. Dave,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
and Mike,
Aye.
and I for myself. The public hearing is suspended so that we can have Heather Lemieux.
Thank you, and thank you for taking me out of order. Appreciate that very much. I know you have an important hearing tonight. So the reason I'm before the commission tonight is to ask you to ratify my appointment of the next sewer business manager, Paula Bertram. And just to tell you a little bit about the process, we received 14 applications for this position, of which 3 were invited for interviews. 1 accepted another position prior to our scheduled interview, and both interviewees were excellent and qualified candidates, but especially Ms. Bertram, who stood out as with all her internal knowledge and the time that she's had as a sewer business assistant. So that's the reason she is being put forth as the top candidate, the position, and why I'm asking the commission to ratify this tonight.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Does someone want to make a motion to ratify this?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to take the honor of ratifying Paula Bertram as our new business manager, and with regrets that Barbara would be leaving us.
Would anyone like to second that?
I will be honored to second that motion.
I'll be honored to third that.
In
Any,
agreement.
any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I have a couple of questions for the town manager, if I could. One is,
sure.
would Paula be going on a SAP program as far as her payment? The SAP?
So the position does fall under the salary administration plan. Yes, as Barb does currently.
Okay. And the position that we have for Paula, the board may modify that, but that position is still open if we want to go and look at replenishing Paula in one form or another. Maybe
For
not as,
the assistant position?
may not be
yes.
assistant, but it may be a person. It may not be an assistant, but we want to have that option open. So should we create another position? So you have the assistant position, we may want a clerk position.
Okay, this news to me, so I would have to give as far as the process that we would need to follow and what that, is it a benefited position? Is it so would it fall under the clerical union or the salary administration plan?
I think,
Um,
Mr.
those
Chair,
other
we-
questions.
I think, Mr. Chair, we could talk about that later at another meeting.
Okay, I mean, are you talking about someone in addition to assistant?
Well, we don't have to go out and hire another assistant today. I mean, Paula is going to take over as a business manager. The board may want to look at hiring someone for, say, 20 hours a week for, until we get up to speed. We may not want to fill that assistant position right away. That's something that we would have to take a look at our business plan.
Okay.
Would that be a temporary assistant position you're talking about?
Probably not. I mean, again, that's something we have to look at the structure now that Barbara's gone or leaving. I mean, I don't know if we want to go out and hire another assistant manager right away. We may want to ease them in right now. I just like to have all options open for the business model of it.
Okay. Well, is there any further discussion?
I would just ask, I
go
think
ahead.
Barb had something too, but I think I'm sure Bill and Barb and Paula having experiencing the office would all have maybe some contributions to that discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of echo what Heather just said, that I think it's a good idea. Let Paula settle in, see what's involved, and then, move forward from there. See what
Exactly.
Okay.
Barbara has her hand up.
Chairman, may I speak?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I just want to caution everyone that this position that I've held for umpteen years is a very, very busy and loaded position, and Paula is going to be new to the position. I think it's crucial that she has assistance if there's nothing else but someone to greet the public, answer phones, take emails, do some of the more clerical issues, which is how we started off with Paula in the beginning. It's just what this department called for. I'd be very worried about holding off and not giving Paula any assistance in this initial year. So we have the position. It's a union position. I wouldn't recommend just leaving it empty, but that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Barbara.
Mr. Chair, what I'm saying is that on the SAP, and there won't be an SAP employee, but we have to make up a new scope of work for any other employee that wants to work for the sewer, either be an assistant, as we did for Paula. We should also have one as an assistant clerical. Right now, we can't hire an assistant clerical until we come up with a scope of work. Is that correct, Heather?
No, so if you're talking about Paula's current position.
No,
as the
no, we're not.
assistant.
One
Okay.
step below Paula.
That would be a different position entirely. So correct, yes, a
Correct.
new position description would need to be created. And whether it was benefited would determine whether it falls under the clerical union or the SAP.
Right. So, Mr. Chair, we don't have to fill that position, but we can't do the position without that position being created. So we could have that position created and never fill it. But if we don't have the position created, then if we do decide to do it, you gotta go through paperwork. So I recommend we do that now. So the sewer department would have Paula as the business administrator, we'd have an assistant position already filled out, ready to go, then an assistant clerical, which we don't have, which I recommend we do.
Okay. I mean, it definitely sounds like a discussion for another meeting.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay. All right, any other discussion?
Bill has his hand up.
Bill, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would echo what Barbara was saying, that we should hire an assistant as soon as possible. Paul is very capable. She's gonna do a great job, but she's gonna need help and she's gonna need it soon. And I think we should just go ahead and fill that same position as soon as we can.
Okay. I'm in agreement with that. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion on the table to ratify the appointment of Paula Bertram to the sewer business manager's position. And
I already did that. Did we do that already?
well, I'm saying there's a motion out there. We need to vote now.
Oh, okay.
So, Mike Nault.
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
and I for myself. Welcome aboard, Paula.
Thank you all very much, and I've enjoyed working for the sewer department for the last year and really enjoyed working with Barb. I'm honored to take over in her stead and look forward to an exciting career.
Thank you, Paula.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard, Paula.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
may I just mention at this point that the intent is to start Paula on March 13th. I don't know if that is voted on by the commission. Or if that's, I believe that's going to be part of the offer letter, but that is the anticipation. That gives Paula and I a week where she would be full-time and I would be full-time at the same time until I depart.
Well, Heather, does the offer letter have the 13th in there?
It would have the 13th. We're in agreement on that start date for some overlap before Barb retires.
Okay. I don't, unless anyone on the commission disagrees with me, I'm not sure that we need to take a vote on that. But if you're more comfortable, I guess we could.
I just want to make sure that that's not a point of contention, that's all.
I don't think we have to make a vote on that, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Okay.
But one
Okay.
question, Barbara, when is your last day? Is it the 17th?
My the last day in the office is the 17th. My retirement's not effective until April 4th or 5th, depending on vacation times spent or not spent. So there'll be another couple of weeks that I would be on the payroll, but not in the office.
So Bob, how many years have you worked on the sewer department?
14,
That's it?
15, actually.
15?
Yeah.
That's more like it.
And prior to that,
The assessor's office for 6.
Yeah, let's forget about that. Okay.
Looks like you're gonna have an exceptionally nice St. Patrick's Day.
well, anyway, Barbara, thank you for all you've done. And Paula, I look forward to working with you as the business manager and have enjoyed working with you as the assistant. So thank you. Okay.
Very exciting. Thank you. Thank you, Heather, for ratifying it.
Thank
Yes,
you,
thank you, Heather.
Commission, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Congratulations to Paula, and thank you, Barb, for all your years of service as well.
And Heather, we'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Yes. All right. Is there anything else you need me for your meeting for? Before I log off?
Yeah, I think we're all set.
Okay. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good
Yeah,
night.
Heather.
Night, Heather.
Thank you.
Okay, why don't we? My suggestion would be to return to the hearing and then come back to the regular meeting afterwards. Do
Mr.
I have a
Chair, I make a motion that we go back into the public meeting in regards to our policies and procedures.
Anyone want to second that?
I will second that.
Okay, any further discussion?
Mr.
Seeing
Chair,
none, we'll take a
Mr.
roll
Chair.
call vote.
that's right. No, I'm sorry.
Dave McDonald,
Aye.
Brett Ramsden,
Aye.
Mike Knoll,
Aye.
and I for myself. We will be returning to the hearing. Okay,
Mr. Chair, if I could recommend, I don't see anyone from the public in the audience right now.
correct.
Yeah,
That'll be,
I was just wondering, could we approve the articles as Article 2, Article 3, Article 4? Or do you want to read each one in each article? The board
I
knows.
believe- I believe if we can, since we have, as a commission, looked at all of these items probably over the past year, Barbara, or maybe a little more.
Yep.
And everything on here has been approved by the commission, but I think we just at least need to go through the main topic. I don't want to go through all the individual bulleted items.
I agree with that. Yep.
Okay, so the first item is the Fitchburg Sewer Ordinance, Chapter 147, March 2021, approved by the commission on 1/25/22 and Fitchburg on 2/16/22. Any discussion on that?
Mr. Chair, if I could, Brett, that was the first one project you helped us on, if you remember, on that article. Remember you and I worked on that with Barb? So thanks for your help. Do you remember that? Can you hear me, Brett? Brett,
Oh, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I said that first one, the article that was just read, that was the one that you and I worked on. Thank you for that. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So you did a good job on it. That was the first one that we actually worked together with Barb.
Yeah, that was very interesting and involved.
Seems like it was yesterday, but
It
sorry,
does.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. I think we'll go through all of these and then we'll take a vote at the end whether to approve all of them, unless there are questions as we go along, then obviously we'll need to discuss them. The second item is Article 2. Oh, excuse me. Article 2, Building Sewer Connections and Extensions. Any questions about any of those items?
No,
Mike,
No, all good.
Brett, and Brett, are you all set?
I'm all set with that. Thank you.
Hey, as am I.
I'm scanning it.
Okay, the next item is Article 4, Administration. Any discussion on that? Dave,
none.
Mike,
No, all good.
Brett?
None here.
Okay, and none for myself. Next item is Article 4, Charges and Fees.
Article
Um,
7,
I'm sorry?
Article
I'm sorry,
7.
Yeah, sorry, Article 7. I got to go back and learn my Roman numerals.
I was just gonna say that.
Article 7, Charges and Fees. Any discussion? Dave? Oh,
Mr.
Barbara
Chairman,
has
may I
it.
just, I just
Go ahead.
want to point out that on the agenda was left off, unfortunately, that under the Article 7-3D-2, which is the deduct meter policy. I didn't note on the agenda that we were removing the requirement to require a copy of the plumbing permit. So I just want to make that clear that that is also included in these changes.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Everything
again,
else is the
that's
same,
something we all voted to approve.
correct?
Mhm.
Okay, any further comments on Article 7?
None.
Dave?
I want to
None.
thank John for bringing our attention to that.
Yeah,
That's my only comment.
thank you. I can't believe how foolish it was when I voted to include that. But anyway, Dave, you're all set. Mike Knoll,
All good.
Brett,
I'm all set. Thank you.
and I'm all set. Okay, appendices. Any discussion about any of the changes for the appendices? Dave?
1 second, Mr. Chair.
Well, I'll skip you. Mike,
All good.
Brett,
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
okay, Dave,
Okay. All set, Mr. Chair.
okay, and I'm all set. Okay. Well, I guess it's, I've got them all, right, Barbara? I haven't missed any?
Oh, that was all.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
Um,
I put a motion that we approve the articles as explained by the chair.
And
I'll
amend the
second that
four
motion.
Any
regulations.
amendments?
anyone want to second that?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll take, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I just want to thank Barbara and Paula for putting these together. It was a lot of work to do this. So thank you guys for doing
Yes, thank you.
it. Long time coming, so.
All right, let's take a vote. Dave?
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
and I for myself. The store regulations are amended. And yes, as Dave said, thank you, Paula and Barb.
Mr.
That is a major accomplishment. Thank you all.
Chair, I put a motion
Thank
to
you.
close the public hearing,
Your motion to what?
close the public hearing.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second the closing.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, take a vote. Dave,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
and I for myself. The public hearing is closed.
Mr. Chair, if I could recommend, once this is printed, could we send a copy to the departments and who would need these? The planning board, building department, who gets our regs, anybody?
Well, it does get posted on our website.
I'd want to make sure that we can deliver or email a copy electronically to those departments, so they have them.
Okay. Well, Paul, I think probably the easiest thing would be to email a copy or email that the new regs are on our website.
Okay,
Either way is fine with me.
Well, I think the building department's gonna have to upgrade some of their policies and start putting these in. For example,
All right, well, Barbara, why don't you just attach a copy of it? An extra step for you and I'll save them a step. Okay,
also, I believe it's part of the town code, so everyone has access to the code.
okay.
Right, and we will have to go through E-code and have them updated, correct, Barb?
Correct. Also, just FYI, both Leominster and Fitchburg will be copied on it as per their terms of their IMAs, so the cities will also receive a copy.
good.
Okay. Okay, the hearing is closed and now I'd like to, at 6:30 PM, open the regular meeting of the February 28th, 2023 Sewer Commission.
Resume.
Resume, I'm sorry, correct, resume. Any announcements? Barbara's retiring. But other than that, okay, current business. The first item on current business, which was the ratification of the new business manager. We already accomplished that. Next item on the agenda was to talk about the assistant business manager and posting the vacancy. So I'm going to solicit any comments on that.
Mr.
Or
Chair,
Any additional comments?
Mr. Chair, in business, I've known the importance of having a backup. Barbara's done this job for 13 and a half years by herself, which I appreciate. We hired Paula, or the assistant, for one purpose only, was to train and take over Barbara's position. But we still need a person in that position. I would recommend we got to look at the budget. And do we have to have another assistant director, or can we get a clerk for now to get us through? And then evaluate the business in a few months. Now, if we want to make it easy, we can always ask, what's her name, Heather, that was just here, who's the other person that wanted Barbara's job? She'll probably take that job if we make her an offer on it. But I would rather at least create that position and keep it forever in our business plan. And that would be an assistant clerk or a clerk or clerical, whatever you want to designate the position as. Again, like I said, we don't need to hire the clerical person. Just my
Okay.
opinion.
I'm a little confused at what you're actually saying. Are
I'm
you
saying-
saying
I'm
that?
saying I don't think I would vote against hiring a assistant business manager at this point. But I would seriously look at hiring a clerical position
Well, I
Instead
guess-
of,
instead of, yes.
I'm sorry, who said instead of?
I think
Brett did, sorry.
Okay,
again, that's me, and I'm only speaking for one. But that's what I would do as a business decision.
and how long would that process take? I probably should ask Heather that question.
How long would the process to create a new position?
To create a new position,
That would be done by Julie. But we'd have to give her recommendations of what the scope of work would be. It's almost like when we hired Paula, we had to come up with a position for that.
It would
What-
also have to go through the union.
Barbara
Well-
has her hand up.
Yeah,
A new position in SAP would require it going to town meeting also. I just want to disagree that the sole purpose of hiring Paula was to replace me. I've been in that position, in this position for 15 years, and for at least 2/3 of that have been telling people that I needed help. So I love Paula, and she's very good, and she's streamlining a lot, but you are assaulted by all kinds of different tasks throughout the day or week or month or year. And I have always maintained that this position needs support. And I think an assistant business manager lines someone up that's a qualified candidate to know that it's an important position. It's not just a clerical clerk. And that when Paula needs to take vacation or take sick time, that person is expected to fill her shoes. So I disagree that it was only to replace me. I also am very concerned at the time it would take to now go and create a new position and get someone in that position. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Barbara, when that position was there, and trust me, I spent a lot of years with you, and I know you were crying for help, and this board got that for you. We understood that. We've been trying to get that, as you know, I've been trying to get an assistant for you for a long time, and we were blocked along the way. But on the other hand, too, I like to go through at least the budget process, and that would be another, 4 or 5 weeks, and see where we sit in our budgets. I mean, I don't think I'm saying let's not get anybody more help. I'm just saying that the assistant position is one step below Paula, and I think Paula deserves a chance to do her job. But we don't, like I said, we don't have to fill the clerical position, but we should have it just in case. And like I say, with a lot of the other boards in town, they, and as you well know too, that's what they do. They, PAC TV is a good example. I don't know how many positions they fill. They don't have to fill them, but they're there just in case. So as far as the way the business run, I appreciate you doing it, and I know you needed help, and you got the help. And I would say Paula is going to need help too. But a full-time assistant is something we gotta look at in the budget, and I haven't looked at the budget technically.
The
And
position is not
when I
full-time
say
yet,
full-time, when I say full-time, what was Paul, 30 hours a week,
24.
24 hours a week? Where clerical would be 20 hours a week.
If
Right.
I'm not,
This is my position, guys, so I'm not gonna argue. I'm just saying as a business model, that's what I would do.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Brett.
I just wanted to clarify a couple of things, get clarification. I thought we had an assistant position already in the budget as it is. Secondly, a question for David would be, I thought we were talking about an additional position beyond the assistants. And why would we want to hesitate to get an assistant for Paula in the meantime?
Like we said, when we hired Bob, Brett, or when we hired Paula, we went with the assistant because we knew Bob was gonna be retiring. We wanted to make sure that we had the right person in the spot, and we do. But as business go forward, we have to look and see how our model changes. And I don't know if did you guys put the assistant model numbers back in the new budget going forward?
Yeah. It's always, yep. It's been
So-
there all along.
I look at it as far as I like to take a look at it from the business sense. Do we need a assistant at this point? Or can we wait a little bit? I guess that's the question I got. And if we do, right now, we can only hire an assistant. We have nothing on the books in this department to hire clerical, nothing. So that's out of the picture until we create that position. Now, if we create the position of a clerical, that doesn't mean we have to fill it, but we have that opportunity. You may have a person who would love to work it, but can only work 20 hours a week. So that's, again, my opinion. You always want to spread the personnel out to help with payroll.
We do
It's
have a
not-
minute, clerk, by the way.
Again, this is up for a vote. I mean, it's up to you guys. I gave my position, you can give yours. It doesn't matter. I'll vote
Hmm.
when the vote's taken.
Mike, any comments?
I'm kind of echoing with Dave a little bit on this, that my feelings are I want to rely, once Paula gets settled in, once, you know, things are going, I think we want to support her in the position and kind of let her come to us and decide, does she need an assistant? Does she need clerical? What does she need? And at that point in time, if we create this position, we have both options for any angle of her needs moving forward. And that's kind of my position. I mean, Paula might tell us right now she wants something that way, then we'll take a different direction. But I'm just trying to, it's like, we don't have an unlimited budget for starters, okay? I'm always looking as running it as a business, and I'm just thinking when the time comes, you know, I'm not saying no, you know, we expect Paula to do it all by herself, not at all. Just let's let her get into it, and, you know, I mean, that's my position on it.
All right, I'm not sure who
Mr.
had their
Chair,
hand up. Hold
Mr. Chair,
on,
I agree
Dave.
with-
Dave,
okay.
Dave,
Yeah.
hold on. I've got two hands up here. And I'm not sure whether Brett's was up first or Paula's. Maybe Barbara, you could help me with that.
I don't know. Brett just removed it, so I think he's all set.
All right, Paula.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've been in the position almost a year. And the possibility of reducing the hours was discussed internally between myself, Barb, and Bill, and the consensus was to leave it as it is right now. I will say that it's very often that I leave the office currently much later than I should, because there is a workload. My concern is in waiting is that we are in the process of this summer, we're going to be migrating to a new software, and that's going to take a lot of time. We're also in the process of starting negotiations with Leominster on the IMA. And there are routine things that need to be done, you know, grease trap tracking, drain layers, licenses, connection permits, billing. that quite frankly, I'm not sure that I could handle all of that on my own without some type of assistant. So I do have concerns about eliminating that position right now, or not filling it.
Mr. Chair, let me just explain the way it is done, and Mike understands what I'm trying to say as well. We're not saying Paul is going to be alone, but you have 3 steps. You got Paul as a business manager, you have an assistant, and then you have clerical. To hire someone off the street today as bringing her right up to the assistant, I feel was wrong. You want to have someone start off in a clerical position, dedicate it, see how she works up, and then give her a promotion. But she's going to do everything that Paula did, except without that title. So now we can create an opportunity in our department. You bring somebody in, you train them, and you go forward. Paula's case was different because we knew Paula was going to be taken over for Barbara. So she came in as the assistant business manager. Big difference here. This one here, we got to get Paula help, but I want to expand the role. I mean, that's what you do in business. You don't fill one position at the same thing. You shouldn't bring somebody in at the level that Paula did. The next person we get won't have the experience of a municipality person. We may have to train her too. You start them down at a different step and you bring them up gradually. That's how you form a team, just the way we do it in our world anyways. Thank you. But Paula, you're not going to be left alone, that's for sure. You need help, you're going to get whatever you get from the board. That's a fact.
Right, but my concern is that to create a new position is not an easy thing. It will take several months. And in that several month period, I'm learning many additional roles in addition to what I'm doing. You know, and at 24 hours, I'm busy that entire 24 hours, as is Barb in her 40 hours. So my concern is that 4-month lag or however many month lag. What do we do for additional personnel at that point?
I don't think you're going to, first of all, I don't think it's a few months, but I'll find that out tomorrow from Heather. The other thing is you're talking probably another couple months before they hire somebody. I mean, you just had 14 people interview, only 3 of them dropped out. If we put an ad in tomorrow, you're probably not going to see anyone for a month, unless we take the girl who applied for your position to fill that assistant manager's spot. So I think you have to look at it, Paula, as yeah, we want to give you the right person for the right job. And the only way to do that is create another opening so that if we can't find somebody your quality is hard to find. You know that, I hope. So when you wanted to be the assistant to the sewer, you had a goal in mind as well. The next person that would fill that may have the same thing, or they may not. You know, somebody now may just want to work part-time and do it. We don't know until we find out. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's no difference in hiring an assistant clerk or an assistant manager. There's no difference. They're going to be doing the same scope of work.
Well,
Thank you.
I see a difference, to be honest with you. What Paul is asking or going to have to ask a new assistant to do is above clerical, right from the get-go. And I fear that if we hire somebody for clerical, people applying for that position, expecting it simply clerical, you're going to find we may not be recruiting in the right pool to begin with. And then also anyone taking on the position is well aware of what's expected. Paula's just been there, she knows. And if they can find we can find the right person, it might take a month or more, but then she has the person she really needs. Someone who's not hired in one spot and then suddenly expected more of and may just not want that. Just my thought. And on top of that, with what Paula's experienced, what Barbara has experienced for years and made quite clear, that help is needed in a full assistant position ASAP. That's the message I've been getting. So that would be my position on that. Thank you.
Okay. And I think, you know, Brett's views, I think That's how I feel also. Now, Paul, I'm going to ask you something, and you don't have to answer this. But if you thought that we were going to be eliminating the assistant business manager position and filling that with a clerical, I mean, would you have had some concerns taking on the job as the business manager? Again, you don't have to answer that.
Well, I will answer that. Having read the job description for the sewer business manager and the assistant business manager, I think both of those roles are clearly defined, and I think that they're both needed. I'm not sure when we talk about a clerical role, what those duties would be, because I haven't seen a job description for that type of position, but I can tell you that the two existing positions are clearly distinguished. And as Barb said, I mean, a clerical person would be expected to take over the business manager role in the event of a vacation. So I do have some concerns, and I would have to clearly understand what's meant by clerical. You know, when I first started with the town 20 years ago, I was a clerk in the selectman's office, and then was in a secretarial role for the Board of Health, and then we determined that needed to be a step up. So I have some concerns because, you know, we're in the process of looking at all the job descriptions in town, and I'm not quite sure. We'd have to identify what type of job description this would be in comparison to what the existing job description is for the assistant sewer business manager. And I think perhaps we should table this discussion, or at least send out the information to the commission on the two job descriptions, the existing sewer business manager position, as well as the assistant sewer business manager. So we can clearly identify what those roles are and see that difference and see the need for both roles.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, the last thing I got
Hold
to
on,
say.
Barbara put her hand up, Dave. Hold.
Okay,
I just, I had this on the agenda to hopefully post because it is already past when I had wanted to get it going. So I don't know if, and I'm sure this is going to require more discussion, but I am concerned already that even if we were able to post this job, the assistant job internally tomorrow, it has to go internal first before it's posted outside, that we are looking till at least a month after I have gone before Paula has help. And it's a busy time with billing and with town meeting and budget and new fiscal year. And I would like to see this posted and get it filled. Bill pointed out to me that the delta between a clerical job and an administrative or an assistant is not a whole, the savings is not that huge. And yet you may not get also the qualified candidates as much. So you're maybe saving $3,700 a year by hiring a clerk versus an assistant. I mean, we can set the hourly rate where we want it to be. If there's starting as know nothing people, then they start at the lowest grade or the lowest step. So my concern is to get it posted so that Paula has help.
Okay, Dave, you wanted to say something?
yeah. My last thing is that in a business world, in a business model, you should be looking at the way I was just talking about. I don't care. I think if we hire an assistant manager right off the bat, I don't care about the money. It's the way to conduct business. And we've been working on this commission to conduct the business properly. I still, no matter what happens, we still got to create that position for clerical, just to have it in our books, just to have it in our repertoire, whatever you want to call it. But it should have been there before. And as far as an assistant now or later, all is right and Barbara's right. No matter what you do, you're going to have to wait. And all what I was saying was, let's go through the next few months, but create that position, which shouldn't be hard because we already know what the scope of work is going to be. Paula may add a couple of things or take a couple of things out, but we should do that anyways. So I don't care. If you want to hire an assistant manager, then put that out today, but we can't really keep prolonging it because we got to do one thing or the other. Because time is running out. So my recommendation would be, let's vote on the assistant position now. Doesn't bother me.
Okay, any for
Chairman,
Barbara?
I'm sorry, I just have one. We do already have a clerk. That is our Jane, our lovely Jane, our minutes clerk. We do have that position set up in the SAP as a board clerk secretary, board clerk / secretary. And it's unfortunately set up for just 10 to 15 hours per month, but there is a position and it could be easily, you know, massaged to create something more like Dave is looking for. But
That's all I'm saying. Let's massage it, whatever. In fact, you can offer it to Jane. But I'd like to get that in now. Why, we have the opportunity to create that position. Let's get it in there now. And then we can look at it and say, okay, what does Paula need? I mean, at the end of the day, is that Paula's gonna have someone there working for her. It could be a manager, it could be an assistant manager, it could be clerical. But right now, we have to go right for the duties of what Paula had already, if I'm not mistaken. You gotta fill up position for what it is, which is 30 hours or whatever it is, Paula. Or 24, or whatever your hours are. You're on mute.
They're 24.
Currently it's 24.
But we just approved a lot of the policies, Mr. Chair. This is something that we've also been talking about before in the past, was creating another position. Get it in our book so the sewer commission has 3 positions available.
3 positions available. So you're talking, I have been a little bit confused. So you're talking about a 3rd position. We're talking about an assistant manager and some kind of clerical person.
Correct.
Then if that's the case, and you think that you want to have an assistant business manager, why wouldn't you want to do that now and then work on either expanding the current hours we have for a clerical / secretary, or coming up with another?
Because if you hire a clerical person now, that person can be promoted as a reward for going into the next position. So when employees come on, they like to be promoted. You can promote from within. Same what we're doing with Paula. Paula's going from the assistant into, and again, I was always brought up that you earn your positions. Right now, we don't have that. You're either going to come on as the assistant and take over, or you're going to be there forever until the SAP, or in this case, you can only go so high on the ladder. By creating the other position, you're giving an opportunity to people to come in and grow with the business and grow with the town. That's what it does. So if I'm coming across that, I want to replace Paula's assistant with something else, I want to create the opportunity to work in the sewer department and grow with us, not just hanging there and waiting for Paula to retire. That's the method behind it.
Okay, so you're interested in oh, excuse me. Hold on just a second. I apologize.
while John's doing that, I want to correct that would be the 4th position, because we do have business manager, assistant business manager, minutes clerk, and then this would be a clerical office person. So that
Yeah,
would
but
be
the minutes clerk wasn't created by this board. I think that was created by Heather, wasn't it?
no, that was created by this board so that
Right.
we
Yeah, I wasn't on the board at the time, though.
Okay, look, would it be possible to do this, to vote on because Bill is going to need to leave. Vote to post the position and then work on a clerical position,
creating probably.
creating a clerical position.
I'd rather do it the other way around, create the clerical position and then vote on it next week or the next meeting. But if you want to get it out there now, then get it out there now.
And-
Paula, what, can I ask Paula what your feeling is?
Yes, please.
Again, I do understand what you're saying, Dave, is room for advancement in a position is always desired. And I think that's what you're talking about. Unfortunately, because of the municipal environment and because of the structure of the union, and this would be a union position, My concern is it would delay the hiring of someone, a part-time person. And that concerns me because there is a lot of workload. I'm also going to have a learning curve. I mean, I started taking over some of the tasks that Barbara has done in preparation for taking over as the assistant business manager, but there is a learning curve. And my concern is, you know, while I'm in that learning period, the day-to-day stuff that I do has to get done. So my concern is, you know, I don't know what kind of timeline we would be looking at to create a position, and I would be hesitant to push out hiring someone longer than the regular posting period is going to take.
Well, like I said, I think I made my opinion clear on what we should do as a business. But I also understand, you know, Paul, you need help. But just keep in mind, if we hire someone right now, they're going to be taking time away from you while you train them. So it kind of a cutting edge sword. Where, for example, if we knew what we should have done, we knew Barbara was retiring. If we had a clerical position, we could have hired someone a few months ago to take that over and then move everybody up. But again, I would recommend we hire we make the position as far as the assistant clerk, and then put it up to vote now for rehiring an assistant manager. But I think we should make a decision tonight, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, so is there any further discussion? All right, so do we have a motion to vote to approve the posting of the assistant business manager?
Mr. Chair.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay, do I have a second on that? Okay, now, you know, this is about procedure here. I don't know if I can second that as a chairman.
I second it, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any further discussion? I think we pretty much discussed it, but. All right.
Mr. Chair, one
ahead.
more question. What would the rate be? Would it be the same as Paula's, or how would that work? Or do you have to check with Heather on that?
Well, I don't know. Go ahead.
I came in at step 2. I would assume that this individual would come in at step 1, and Barb, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's true. It all depends on the person's credentials and how they fit. And if they're coming in and don't know anything about sewer or munis or billing, we're not gonna bring them in at Paula's rate.
So I guess, Mr. Chair, I would still continue with the vote, but I would really like to see how that's going to be posted. As far as they're going to be step 1, step 2, step 3, whatever.
It's always a range in the posting. It'll
no,
give the range of the position in the union.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And I assume the range starts at step 1 and goes to whatever the
Correct.
maximum is. Okay, I think there's no further discussion. Let's take a vote. Dave?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
And I for myself. So we've approved the posting of the assistant business manager position. Okay, thank you. And I assume for the next agenda, we should add the discussion about a clerical position.
That should be a given anyways, Mr. Chair. Like I said, we should
Yep.
have done that before.
Right.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Barb, the next item on the agenda. Thank you all for your honesty, by the way. Grease traps.
Grease traps, Bill is gone. He had to go. So John, you're on if you want to review. Il Forno was visited for the external pump out. They performed the pump out on the 18th. Oh, must have been the 17th. Yes, it was the 17th. Bill and John and Al Packard were present, and we have yet to receive the report, but they do have 30 days to submit it. We don't yet know what the that's oil and grease, otherwise known as fog, is from that report. So,
The guy that was there pumping, his initial thought was 5 to 7%. But I mean, based on my limited number of pumpings I've observed, it didn't really look that bad. But we really need to wait until we get the actual report to decide whether we want to change the frequency again. I mean, that would be my opinion. So let's wait and see what happens when we get the report.
okay. All right. Otherwise, A&D Crossroads, we did finally get the news that they had pumped it out in September. The fog was at 25%. The complete report was finally received on the 17th of February. But the issue is that the pumper gave a recommendation of pumping every 12 months, which Paula and I both take exception to. So we will be sending out a letter shortly, explaining that I think we've already emailed, but we haven't received any update from the pumper. But the requirement for the regs is a 6-month minimum. So we are going to make sure that that occurs, which will be by the end of March.
And previously, they had been on a 3-month schedule, so I'm not sure the reasoning for the pumper to recommend a year-long schedule, so I definitely want to follow up with that, especially if the fog is at 25%.
Yeah, I don't, I certainly don't see doing anything less frequently than 6 months. But yeah.
The one question I do have before the board is, do we still wish to pursue the $25 a day fee that we had assessed from the date of November 11th, when a report was to have been submitted, until 2/17/23 when it was 99 days, $25 a day is $2,475. So I need to know if the commission wants us to continue to pursue that fee.
Is that against A&D roads, Crossroads?
Yes.
What was their reason when they called? Why did they respond to us?
Why didn't they respond?
Yeah,
They don't respond.
Yeah,
There's
they
no-
don't respond, and I actually, there are many calls and many emails to try to get the information that's required by the regulations. Just between January 1st to today, there are 3 pages of contacts, notes regarding contacts and emails. So they just are not responsive.
Mr. Chair, I recommend that we keep on billing them and let them come above the board. If they want
sorry,
to dispute it, they will.
So are you suggesting we
Enforce the billing. They're in violation.
the 2,475?
Yeah, and if they want to dispute it, they have every right to come above this board and talk about it.
Okay, Mike?
I agree with Dave. I believe this isn't the first time. It seems like this has been just a pattern going on. So therefore they realize the penalty. And yeah, if they want to talk about it, we'll discuss it.
Okay, Brett?
I have to agree. Again, it's a repeating offense. It's time for a slap on the wrist, maybe a hard slap. And as Dave said, they can come in and talk about the penalty and possible adjustment depending on what they have to say, but they need something to open their eyes at this point.
Okay. And I'm in agreement with the other 3 commissioners. So I think you have our answer, Paula and Barb. I don't think we need to take a vote on this, but
No, that's fine.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair, if I
Yes.
could, I just want to make it clear that it may not be a slap on the wrist. If they're totally avoiding our request, then I expect them to give them the penalty. I mean, they can talk about it, but this is obviously, they're just avoiding the problem. So
Right.
Let it be known that, they have a fine they got to pay, and then they can come to the board and talk to us.
Yeah. And it's an expensive problem for us. Potentially.
Okay. Um,
Thank you, Brett.
the next item on the agenda, Barb,
The Lemonster IMA just came up to our attention that we were supposed to be continuing or supposed to commence negotiations in 2022. It does not expire for a year from this June, so not until 2024. But it's just, we got to get it on the record that we have begun negotiations. And they're just coming to you all for whatever you wish to do as the first step. In the past, we had created a subcommittee that would work on it, contacting Lemonster, etc. But I just need, I'm going to be gone, so I'm not going to probably lead the charge. So I'll leave it to the rest of you all to figure out. plan of action.
you're just dumping this one on Paula, right?
Not necessarily Paula.
Yeah, be
Subcommittee
that way,
on the-
Bob.
She has an assistant, you know.
Okay. Sorry, obviously, we need to get moving on this pretty quickly, so
Mr.
anyone
Chair,
have anything? Go ahead, Dave.
I don't know what attorney, who would attorney, that wouldn't be Costas, would it? Working with us on this, or would it be an engineer?
I believe council would get involved.
With the final draft, I mean, would an
Right.
engineer help us better with the IMA? And
Correct.
again, the last time we did this, Mr. Chair, Kyle Luck, Bob Ebeso negotiated in
Right,
Fitchburg.
right.
And I'll be glad to help go through the numbers if you want. And I think, Mike, you'll be good at that, looking at the numbers, Mike.
Yeah, no, I have no issue with it.
So I think I just heard a subcommittee formed.
I think this would be interesting thing to do, and it's in Leominster too, so yeah, I think it'll be a good opportunity.
So am I hearing that Dave and Mike want to take this on?
No.
And
Well, first, are we talking step one, step two?
Yeah, do I get this?
well, we're talking step one through whatever number of steps it is.
I think we're jumping straight to 3 on this one.
I think we would need some sort of guidance for an IMA, either through a lawyer, which is okay, or probably our engineers. And Bob, you would have the experience. I forgot who helped Bob and Carl. I mean, I can reach out and ask them, but I thought they had somebody on their team with them.
Yeah, I'll have to check, but I think you're right. We would, and I could only put out there that Wright Pierce, because they were aware of the 40B and knowing what the downhill process is going to be, maybe the one to ask to take a look at the IMA and see if there's anything that they would recommend.
Who created the IMA? Do you remember? Do we have the?
Lemonster, it was created by Lemonster.
It's created by Lemonster, yeah. we
This
can't-
was the original document 25 years, well, 23 years ago.
Do we have those guys on retainer, the engineers?
Yes, just for 2,500 at this point, yes.
Mike,
Well,
that's,
contract, I'm waiting for their signature. So it's in the works and everybody's agreed to all the terms, so.
I mean, the legal fees are the legal fees. There's nothing we can do about that. That it has to be approved by Costa at the end and their lawyers. But as
Right.
far as writing up the actual IMA, I would, Mr. Chair, I would ask that we contact the engineer and maybe have a meeting at the DPW and just go over it and send them a copy of the IMA before they come into the office so they're familiar with what we're talking about.
No, I think that's a good idea. So Barbara, if you want to contact Wright Pierce.
Okay.
And the next time you meet with that, or maybe you've already talked to Adam and made him aware, I can't remember.
Yeah, I had council hours yesterday with Adam and I was only just giving him the heads up that the negotiations were about to commence. He has someone in Mead Tollerman who is more the contracts person, so Ben Taylor, I think, would possibly get involved. But yeah, I might send a thing to Adam and just say, what is your take? He knows what the IMA looks like currently, and if he thinks, because the standard contract that council provides is pages and pages and has nothing even close to similar to the current IMA. So
Yeah, but-
it might be substantial changes to the current IMA that the council will want to see.
Okay,
I'd like to bring up the fact that Leominster and Lunenburg have the same common of INA, and we're getting really slammed on the INI. They are too, so maybe together again with this new IMA, we could bring up that INI problem that's going on over there, which caused our bills to rise.
right. All right, so do we want to invite Wright Pierce to the next meeting or have them come in independent of a meeting? Well, I mean, we need to get them a copy of the IMA first.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and probably Paula, I think our first meeting should be held at the DPW, and with your permission, we would have a sub-meeting, which would be Mike and I. Yeah, we can't have three, because if we had you, that would be a quorum, correct?
Correct.
So it could be Mike or I with you, Mr. Chair, if you wanted to do that as well. But
Well,
Mike and I can work on the detail of the IMA.
okay. Well, Barbara or Paula, why don't you try to coordinate a meeting with Mike, Dave, and Wright Pierce to go over that?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. The budget. Go ahead, Barb.
Budget prep at the very last minute. I've been having it, it's been on my list all for several weeks to get to the betterment and debt service. And I just finally did it this afternoon. And while I was looking at it, everyone has been sent a copy, and I printed some copies that are here at the office. So there are new ones. I don't know, Mr. Chairman, do you want me to share the screen, or are we just going to talk about that there are substantive changes?
Why don't you put it up on the screen?
Okay. All right. All right. So what I did was the betterment projections have been gone through and determined for what we're looking at for FY24. So this is FY23, which is current year, and this is what we're working on the proposal for. As you can see, we knew, and actually I'm gonna remove this. This was a copy from our FY23 one. Oh, I can't, but anyway, the FY23 amount, this 355, was what the budgeted transfer to retained earnings was last year in the approved budget. And the 2.2 million is the current retained earnings balance as of the end of fiscal year. So what we're looking at is what we knew before, that 2023 and 2024 were going to be our toughest years. We were given a bit of a break because in 2022 we did collect a lot of betterments. So we're better off. We were lower originally on the last go around. So anyway, this is the betterment fund projections, the debt service projections against the retained earnings. So we have a dip, and then eventually this retained earnings amount increases until, it keeps going, and there we go. It keeps growing. So this is our lowest. 2024 was supposed to be the lowest. Now 2025 is incorporated. So, but from there on, it does increase. So I went to plug the numbers into the budget and realized an error that I wanted to also address with you. Originally, our last meeting, this figure transferred to capital reserve was 3% of revenues. And what I didn't realize until tonight was that we had taken 2% of this 1.8 million, which included the ARPA funds. And so that is grossly, I was wondering why our FY24 capital reserve transfer was 57,000 originally. And last year it was 35. So let me get my FY23 up here. It's hard. I don't know if you guys, if this bar is in the way for you, but it's in the way for me. Capital reserve transfer last year was 35.5. And at the last iteration of the budget, this number over here was 57,000. So I've gone and I have changed it to reflect, I'm gonna move that bucket thing, the non-ARPA, because I don't think that should be taken into account. That's kind of a one-time shot to have those in. And then as I continued to look closer at the revenues, this figure, sorry, it's hard with all the windows open. The figure here, and I apologize, I could also put up the prior budget that you saw on the 16th, but this was at 1.2 million. The description or my comments below when we were trying to estimate, sorry, my button on my laptop is going to need to be fixed. But this sewer user charges, where we try to estimate where we're at now and what we would be at for FY24. You can see in the bottom, it says with a 2% increase in customers, 1.120 million, we rounded to 1.2. And I think that was extremely dramatic. That's a $98,000 increase in user charges. And it looked like year over year, we have an increase of maybe 25 or 30, but not nearly the 98. So I believe I think it was an error that I would like to correct. I don't want to overestimate what we assume to receive. It's great if we receive it, I don't mind, but to plan on receiving it is dangerous. So I've sent you guys a new one, and anything that's changed between this meeting and last meeting, I've highlighted in this yellow. So you'll have this changes since 214. I reduced this down, so it's only a 28,000 increase over last year. And then the comments also describe it. The only other change, well, there's two actually. The other one was the Fitchburg usage. I think Dave brought up whether they were going to send rate increases. Leominster was a no. There's nothing in the works. Fitchburg did come back and say that it was that their wastewater commission has just been recently reviewing it, and it is probable, it's not yet published, that we'll probably get a 4% increase or rate increase each year over the next 5 years. And I looked at what we had estimated. We had come in, well, even with the 4%, it is with our projections, we have it at 215. Last year, we estimated it at 220. So the option as of last meeting's budget was to level fund. So there's no change to the actual amount Fitchburg usage. It's just the comments and the knowledge that we do have a 4% increase. And then what I sent out to you all, I would like to make one more change. So you'll see another one come through. When I realized that transfer to capital reserve was so high, I had suggested that we would reduce it to the 2% this year. And then upon the realization that we had ARPA funds in there, I would like to remove that 2%, go back to 3%, and we will have a much more reasonable transfer to capital reserve. Oops, sorry. like I said, my button is not good. And hit a button easily. So at 3%, it would be 37.2. At 2%, it's the 36.6, which is very much in line with last year for FY23. It was a $35,000 transfer. So it's much more in line. It's just the ARPA. I took the revenues line and I should have removed the ARPA. So there's changes about the net, if we stick with, let's even just say it's 2%. We do have a deficit of the 372,642 with all the transfers. That's transferring 36,000 into capital reserve stabilization. It's transferring 8,000 into our reserve capacity stabilization. It's the deficit of the betterment fund over debt service. And again, these are budgeted amounts. Those may not happen as happened last year. We ended up with more revenues in betterments than we expected. So that's what I did. So, and I'm sorry it went out late. It's been busy. So
Thank you, Barbara.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
But I will send you a revised one just to correct that capital reserve. Put it back to the 3% because that's historically, unless we make other changes tonight. So.
Did
Any
everybody-
questions? Any
Everybody-
questions, for Barbara? No questions? So Barbara, when do you think you will be completely done?
Well, doing this, well, and as you can see on my betterment thing, I've got some questions with the collector's office and the accounting office. I'd like to confirm that. I want to work with town manager about the ARPA, also sit with Karen, the accountant, and a lot of times they will go through our budget and have issues with one thing or another. So I need to sit with town manager and accountant and get these answers to the questions. I don't know. Heather was on vacation last week, so
Right.
nothing had happened. So
Okay, and remind me, when do we have to have this finalized?
we are presenting to FinCom on the 23rd of March. And that it doesn't even, I mean, we've actually made changes after that, but we have to have the meat of it pretty much settled by that point. So we have a meeting, we do have a meeting on the 14th.
14th. Okay. All right, so if we, hopefully you'll have all your answers by that next meeting, Barb. And I guess we're gonna have to have a, I don't want to say a final discussion, but a discussion that night on the budget.
For sure.
Any other thoughts? So no more questions regarding the budget for right now? Right, Mike?
We're good.
Okay. Dave's muted, so he must be good.
No, Mr. Chair, when are you making the presentation to the Finance Committee
It's the 23rd
of March?
March.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Barbara, let's see, we got
Okay.
any additional news on Pondview?
No, except I did meet in council hours yesterday with Adam and mentioned that you had wanted, the commission had just requested to keep this on the agenda. He gave me an estimate of at least 3 years before this will come back. Even if it has, it's gone to the HAC, and even if it comes back in our favor, the assumption is that Mr. O'Brien would then appeal. So this would go on for years. I'm not sure, I'm gonna put it out there, whether we want to have this continue to have it on the agenda. We'll put it down in the tickler file, like it needs to be addressed. Like,
Yeah, I think
early.
at this point, we probably don't need to have it on there every meeting. But that's just my opinion. Anyone else got one?
I agree with that. If we're
Me too.
talking 3 years, I mean, if something comes up, obviously, we can address it, but
Right. Okay.
I
Well,
agree,
Barb,
and we're all gonna be aware when things do come up. We'll be talking
all right,
about.
Barbara, well, you can save some ink on that one then, okay?
Okay. All right, and the next thing on the agenda is minutes. We have 2 minutes for approval, both the 2/7 budget workshop and the 2/14 meeting. Thank you very much, Jane.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion to accept the minutes from the 2/7 meeting?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the 2/7 workshop meeting.
Any seconds?
I'll second that.
I third it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's take a vote. Mike,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
and I for myself, the minutes are accepted. All right, next to the minutes from the 2/14 meeting. Does someone want to make a motion to accept those?
I'll make a motion to accept the Valentine's Day meeting, 2/14.
Any seconds?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing
It
none.
was a
let's
very
take a
nice
vote.
evening.
Yeah. Mike,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
and I for myself, the minutes are accepted.
Okay.
Barb,
Annual report was submitted on time to the select board office, so we're all set there. I do have 3 invoices for your acknowledgement and approval tonight. Fitchburg's monthly has come in at $22,633.40 for 1 month. Lemonster's has come in for $104,650.37, and that is for quarterly amount. And then we did get a Mead Tollerman bill for activities through January and early February for $756. So all 3 of these we'd be putting through for payment as long as you are okay with that.
I'm okay with that. We don't need to vote on this.
No.
I'm fine with those 3.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Pay the bills.
Okay,
All right. There's one other item that I didn't have on the business manager agenda that was posted that I just want to make sure that you're aware. We will have to, at the next meeting, finalize our warrant articles for town meeting. As we reviewed them, I think in January, and it was just the straight budget articles, the normal regular operating budget article, the reserve, the capital reserve transfer to stabilization, and then the OPEB payment. So I haven't had any input since that time that you had looked at them and we're happy with those 3. So we will just need to finalize that at the next meeting unless somebody has an article that they want to introduce that will be sponsored by the Sewer Commission. So let me know or let John know if there's something we need to address. Otherwise, I'll have that sheet of articles for your approval at the next meeting.
Mr. Chair, if I could, has Lou Franco got a hold of you about talking on behalf of the Sewer Commission?
no, he has not.
I think he wanted to clarify something. I think we have to get a hold of Mr. Franco because he talked.
Was this the item that he was proposing
Yes,
some number of months ago?
at the last town meeting, I forgot what you were saying.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it had to do with the
The easement.
easements, yeah.
I think he
Okay.
wanted to change, he tried to do it at the last meeting. I don't think it's gonna change our policy at all. I think he just wanted to,
He just wanted to change the word a little bit, I think.
yeah, lawyer it up, I guess.
Okay. Anything else?
That was all I had.
Okay. Anyone have any action items for future meetings other than those discussed?
Mr. Chair, the only thing I have is, do we have an update on a couple things? One is, when does Zoom run out? We're gonna have to start meeting in person soon, or did the state extend that?
I did ask council yesterday, Mr. Chairman, if you want me to fill in.
Sure, go ahead,
I did,
Barbara.
I did ask council yesterday because it is, the deadline is the 31st of March. They have not heard anything more. The Mass Municipal Association hasn't gotten any updates. Adam is, he believes they will extend it, and maybe not even extend it, but make it a practice, because it has been going on now for 3 years with no issues and sometimes better results. So Adam was thinking they've got the legal verbiage all set. He expects them to do something soon. He doubts it will be a total chop off at the knees on April 1st, but we have not, there's been nothing in the pipeline about it.
And the other question, Mr. Chair, is I know there's a lot going on in the town about other issues, but I don't know if the board voted on the Aqua money yet. Do you know if, have they talked about it, or are they putting it to the side for reserves? I guess a lot of things are being put aside for reserves. The monies.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you.
So I don't know if they talked about where the money was gonna go. Okay.
I can send something off to Heather and see if we can get an update.
Yeah, I mean, we put in for three things, I guess.
Right.
And the last one is that Bill, look at the sewer covers on Mass Ave that are, actually, I think John and you and I talked about this. It looks like they're dropping even more.
Yeah, there's a few that look like they've dropped quite a bit in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah,
Some of that is frost lifting the street. And some of that will actually drop and not be so deep, believe it or not.
Okay. I think Bill did mention something at the last meeting. He's aware of it. And he knows he's going to have to repair some, come springtime. So.
right. And the last question I have is, Bob, how many more meetings you got left with us on the commission? Is it
Just
one?
got the meeting on the 14th.
A day before you leave? No. What
Couple
day are
days.
you leaving?
Couple days.
17th? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Barbara, you can always zoom in and watch us.
I can, I'll be your public.
Okay, any
You
other?
might be dragged into a few discussions
That's true.
if you're okay with that.
We'll be saying, "Oh, that's all Barbara's fault. She didn't finish that."
Oh, yeah, maybe I don't want to listen.
You know what, Mr.
Damn, I
Chair,
just scared her away.
Mr. Chair, it's been a pleasure to work with this crew. I mean, this has been a good sewer commission, and you're gonna be quite missed. And, deep down, we all kind of like you, I guess, but we love you, and we wish you nothing but the best. But we knew this day was coming, but just never realized it was gonna come. So, you know what I mean? So
Yep.
my wishes to you and your husband, and have a great life. And we got one more meeting, so we'll have a party at that meeting.
Any public comment?
And thank you, Jane, for everything you do too. I can't forget Jane up there.
Yeah.
I like your glasses.
Okay. All right. Seeing no public comment, does someone want to make an motion to adjourn?
I'll make
Yeah.
a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion about that? Seeing none, let's take a vote. Dave,
I,
Mike,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
and I for myself, the February 28th meeting of 2023 is adjourned. Thank you all.
Good night, Lunenburg.
Good night, everybody.
Thank
Good
you,
night, Paula.
everybody.
Paula,
Right.
congratulations.
Thank you. all.
Congratulations, Paula.
Yeah, congratulations.
Well
Thank you.
deserved.
See you all soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care.